So, as we bridge the gap between Christmas and New Year, it's an excellent time to get into a state of reflection about the year gone by before we dive into those early January 2021 questions and answers about what's going to happen. So, in this episode, I'm going to take some time to offer you some great and fun reflection questions for you to use. And in the second half of this show, I'm going to reflect myself on this year in podcasts. And I'm going to share with you my 3 favorite podcasts of 2020 and also one hidden gem. Stay with us and let's get into it. Hit it, Kim.
Welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast. You're in the right place if you're a growth-seeking being who acknowledges the challenges and delights of your humanity on the path to an ever more conscious life. If you want to feel inspired to love and accept yourself, to feel free to be and express you in all your brilliance, if you want to truly value yourself and others and feel energized and alive both at home and in the world, then sit back and take a breath as you explore and grow the brilliance of your beautiful human self with your host, the father of non-personal awareness and creator of the MPA process, Joel Young.
Hello, and welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast with me, Joel Young. I'm so glad you're here. And here we are at the end of the year. Oh my God, 2020. This is the last podcast episode of the year, and what a year it's been. It's been bonkers. Nevertheless, it's a great time of year, as I said in the introduction, to do some reflection. So that's what we're going to be about today in different ways. And if you're new here, hey, you're finding us just at the end of the year. How fantastic is that? I'm so glad that you're here. And if you're back as a regular, and I know there's many regulars who get in touch with me every week and let me know that they're there. And I love that you come back and spend some time with me in your earlugs, pontificating and hopefully giving you pause for thought, something to expand your mind, and at times some very practical tips on how to make your life a little better than it might otherwise have been. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified every time a new episode comes out. And always I'm open to you getting in touch. As we go into 2021, I'd love to hear what you would like to hear from me in 2021. See, I'm already getting ready for the 2021, what's happening next. But I have done my reflections. I do walk my talk. But yeah, I love that you're here. And as ever, if you're brand new, I didn't really talk about this the last couple of weeks, but if you're brand new, you're probably thinking, well, who the heck is this guy? Well, I'm mostly known as the creator, custodian, the channeler of the MPA process, MPA standing for non-personal awareness, which is a simple way to stop taking things personally on one level. Another level, it's really about applying Teflon to your soul. So again, the analogy I use there is, if you know those old sticky frying pans where you try and fry an egg and half of it would stay in the pan. A lot of us live life that way. Well, MPA is a very simple, non-personal awareness is a philosophy, but the MPA process, where it all really starts, is a simple way to upgrade the frying pan of life and get one of those lovely non-stick ones, so things don't stick to you, and yet you can still have a full experience of your lovely fried egg or vegan egg if you're vegan. My analogy falls into dodgy territory in certain realms, but there we go. And you can get hold of the MPA process for free always on the MPA website, which is joelyoungmpa.com. And also you'll find it if you're visiting the show notes, and the show notes for today will be www.beabrillianthuman.com/66. You'll find a link there where you can click through and download the MPA sheet. I do mention MPA a lot on this podcast. It's so much part of my life and what I do. It's a truly powerful tool, whether it's in the hands of you for your own personal and self-development and letting your own life be smooth, and also in the hands of any kind of coach, therapist, or change maker. A lot of our advanced trainings are really to support you guys, because when you use it in your practice one-on-one with people, it can have a profound impact on your client's life, but also, in fact, on your life, because that non-stick effect can be applied to you and your clients. So you end up with the experience of having less resistance in your clients, no resistance in you, or less resistance in your clients. And that makes the whole experience of being a coach and healer or change maker of some kind really wonderful for you in your experience, and often quicker and better for your clients. So today we're talking about reflection. So as I said in the intro, there's two parts to this. I'm going to give you my 3 favourite podcasts of 2020. These are my personal favourites, not necessarily the most listens. I think when I get to 100, I might do a top 10 or something of in terms of the most listened to episodes. But for now, I'm just picking out my favourites. I'll give you my reasons why they're my favourites, and I'm going to share a clip of each. But I want to start today with going through, offering you some questions that will help you to have a sense of reflecting. We'll talk a bit about why it's really powerful to do that. And then I'll share these wonderful questions with you. And I will also write them down in the show notes. And I've got them from a particular source. I'll link that in the show notes too. So let's go into it. So I'm a big fan of reflection as we turn a corner. And obviously the new year is a good marker for us humans in the way we set things up, as a marker as a point of transition or turning. Something old ends, something new begins. And reflection, the way I see it, is a chance just to look back with a view to sort of eliciting some kind of gratitude, or at least getting a sense of what are the lessons that we've learned in that period. One of the things when I was younger, and I still do sometimes from time to time, is I read tarot cards. And in the major arcana, which is sort of the tarot cards broken into major and minor arcana, the minor arcana deal with the day-to-day stuff, the major arcana deals with the soul's journey. And it's like a circle, and the last card is the card of judgment, and the lesson there really is about summing up, the results of what we've done, our past deeds, and what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, so that as we go into a new cycle and the Fool begins a new journey, or a next phase of its journey, has a chance to sort of become wise from the journey that they've just completed. And in a sense, what a journey it's been, 2020. So what better year to do some reflection than then? So I was thinking about what questions to ask, and I thought, well, I'll have a look around and see if there's some great ones that I might not think of. And I ended up on Psychology Today online and found a great article, which was 20 fun reflection questions to ask. And so I thought, rather than reinventing the wheel here, I'm going to share about 6 of them. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 of them. Count them in front of me with you that I thought were pretty cool. And also in the show notes, again, they'll be at www.beabrillianthuman.com/66. I'll put a link to the article if you want to go and check out the rest of those questions that are offered. So generally, when I'm doing reflection, I'm really looking to take the best of, or the most constructive way of looking at things. And that's one of the reasons I like these questions. So the first one that I liked is, what did you discover that you loved? So you'd be asking yourself, what did you discover that you loved in 2020? Now, there's been so much that's been a challenge this year. I think it's great to look at all the newness. I know one of the things that's been great for many people is discovering that it's possible to work from home. It's possible to connect with your loved ones, and probably more so on video than maybe you've done in the past. But it's a great question. What did you discover that you loved? The second one is, what achievement are you most proud of this year? I think it's great to look at achievements, and we can be a bit harsh with ourselves. We can be our own worst critic. I didn't achieve anything. But there are always little things that you can find. If you sit with a question, and I like to use the term inquiry, and the essence of inquiry is ask the question and let the answer find you. Because if you go seeking it with your mind's usually got a bias. The inner critic gets activated and it's like, oh, nothing. But if you sit with the question, even if it's the tiniest little thing that you achieved, that you can allow yourself to be proud of, it's wonderful to give yourself that experience. The third one I liked, which is what did you face head on this year rather than avoiding? I love this one. I mean, that it may be that you're someone who has no issue with confrontation. There are people in the world I know who have no issue with confrontation, but even those people who generally are okay with confrontation have things that they tend to avoid, maybe inside themselves. So I think it's really good to look back and go, what was it that I generally have avoided that this year I managed to face it head on? One of the things I love about this question is when I go there, it's like, yeah, but it instills that sense of deeper trust and self-confidence in you when you can find at least one example of that. The next one I liked was, where did you receive help this year? Now, again, lots of people have been challenged this year as a result of the whole COVID thing. And receiving help really is about receiving. We don't often, well, sometimes we can have issues allowing ourselves or giving ourselves permission to receive. But I think I love this question because it gives you a chance just to remember that you were able to have receiving in your life. I mean, receiving is intrinsically linked to abundance. So if you've got any abundance issues and you can just keep finding examples of where you allowed yourself to receive, you're going to get yourself in a vibration or an energy or a connection to or belief about the possibility of receiving. And it's definitely part of abundance. Next up is, what's a skill that you have gained confidence with this year? So maybe that's technology or something. I learned how to use Zoom. Maybe it's that. But maybe there's other kinds of skills that you learn. I mean, again, many of us have been in this world of COVID and restrictions and lockdowns, have had to learn new skills. Maybe it is how to balance working at home with the kids. Even if it's only one tiny part of that, there's some skill that you've managed to learn. Or maybe it's more to do with a hobby that you've put more focus into. I mean, I've probably spent a lot more time on my photography hobby. I've even set up a page on Instagram and Facebook, but on Instagram it's at Joel Young Wildlife, which has just reached over 1,000 followers. I can't believe it. It's amazing. But within that, I've learned a lot of extra skills about working with photography, how to follow patterns with the animals so you know where they are more, certainly a lot more about how to use the settings on my camera. And from that, I've gained a lot of confidence from that. But I think it's a great question to ask yourself about, what skill have you gained confidence with this year? And the last one I'm going to share with you today, the 6 out of the 20, there'll be 14 more on that page, and you have to go to the show notes to find it. But the last one I really, really love. So what did you try that didn't work out, but the process of trying moved your thinking forward in a helpful way? So what did you try that didn't work out, but the process of trying moved your thinking forward in a helpful way? The reason I love this one is because implied in it is the acknowledgement and willingness, or at least the acceptance, of making mistakes as part of the learning process. So often we're afraid to even get started on something in case we fail. And yet again and again, it's been witnessed that through failure or through things not working out as expected, we learn so much. So that's a really great one to contemplate about, because again, you might think that, well, there's things that didn't work out, but I don't got anything from it. But if it causes you to go, well, it didn't work out, but how did that move my thinking forward? Even if the moving forward is, that's not for me. that's your thinking moving forward. You're getting more clarity as a result of things not working out as expected. So I hope you enjoy those questions. I do recommend, journaling is a great way to do this. I tend to journal on my laptop, but you can do it in an old-fashioned notebook or whatever. Before you go into all those New Year's resolutions and things, do take some time to contemplate. You can use these questions. You can go and check out the article. Again, go to the show notes for today, www.bbs beabrillianthuman.com/66 will get you there, and I'll link through to that article on Psychology Today, and it will come up with your own, or just free write about what was your experience of this year. What are you taking away from 2020 that you can learn from, that enriches you, that shows you where things you can learn how to approach things in a different and more constructive way, or where it will be good to do more of that in a positive way. All right, pop pickers. Maybe I always wanted to do a countdown listening to Radio 1 when I was a kid. Top 20. You get your old tape machine out and tape the songs you liked. Call that bootlegging now. But you just go on Spotify and get them anyway. Anyway, I digress. So here's what I'm going to do. All of these 3 episodes that I'm going to share with you, and the hidden gem, which I'll share at the end, is my top 3 will be linked so you can easily access them if you want to go and listen to them on the show notes for today. I'm going to do traditional countdown. We'll start with my number 3, number 2, and then I'll finish up with my in the number 1 spot. So these aren't based on necessarily listens. They're just purely the ones that I really liked and stick in my memory. So I'll share a bit about each of them as we go. And I've pulled out some little clips from each of them to give you a taste. If you haven't heard them already, go and listen to them. They're fabulous episodes. And if you have listened to them, maybe they're worth a revisit. So let's go ahead and come in with at number 3. So at number 3, I chose episode number 48, which is what I learned from taking LSD. These insights could set you free. I really enjoyed doing this episode. It was kind of me pulling back the curtain on some of my less salubrious history in the world of rock and roll when I was in a band and younger. And I think it was something I wanted to share because I have always kind of been aware that the experiences with LSD and the sort of hallucinogenic had a big impact on me really coming into the world of personal development, spirituality and consciousness. And in a sense, it's the way it helped me to really come into the place I'm at now with non-personal awareness, a lot of which is about questioning the baseline assumptions about reality and certainly questioning the dogmatic ideas that we get handed down. And also, I enjoyed going back and looking at the history of LSD in this episode. So it's one that I really enjoyed doing, and I also got some great feedback from people who obviously enjoyed it as well. So here's a clip from episode 48. And it's to set it up. It's about when I was going to Reading Festival with the band on acid, and talks about the the lessons, the rather scary experience, and the lessons of the necessity for earthly awareness, shall we say, which I wasn't having at the time. So let's listen to the clip. And so we're at Reading Festival, and you know, the idea was mooted that we would, you know, drop a tab and see what happened. And the drummer was going to be the straight man, which meant that he was going to remain sober and just sort of keep us in line. And it was wild. And for me, I went into the, you know, I go back to the 60s and described as the love and peace drug. And absolutely, I was on the love vibe. I've got vague memories of wandering around, the campsite of Reading Festival, and overnight it was very late at night, and sort of going into the arena and having weird conversations and just dancing like a mad thing. And one of the memories there that I find interesting is that within the tent camp there was a camp, sort of enclosure really, which was with the Hells Angels. And I went traipsing in. Unfortunately, Nick, the drummer, was with me, traipsing into the middle of this, this group of, didn't ask to be interrupted Hells Angels going, "Hey man, I'm on the love vibe. I love you, man." And was promptly threatened with a hammer. The guy just said he'd cave my skull in if I didn't leave. And Nick, bless him, dragged me away and, probably avoided serious injury. which goes to show sometimes, in life, if you drop all of those sense of worldly controls, it can put you in harm's way, which is something I experienced much later in the realm of spirituality when you became boundless. And hence, I've just been talking a lot recently about Boundary Boot Camp, because a lot of encouragement in consciousness or the spirituality is to drop all the boundaries. But if you haven't got that mindfulness of the necessity for boundaries, and I didn't when I was on that acid, you could put yourself in harm's way, because we live in a world which, you need to sort of meet the world where it is as much as you meet yourself where you are. So you can go direct to listen to that episode if you go to www.beabrillianthuman.com/48. And I was talking there about boundaries. Boundaries are so important. And my 4-week course, which is amazing. If you've got any kind of boundary issues, then I'd love you to go and check that out. I will link that in today's show notes. And I believe it's linked in the show notes for episode 48. I could be wrong about that because I haven't checked it. But certainly if you go to today's show notes, you'll find a link for Boundary Boot Camp if you're interested in having a go at that. And really, it's a way to transition you. If you're someone who finds it difficult to say no and you end up saying yes when you mean no, you can look at that on the surface and go, well, okay, that's a fairly common thing. But underneath the surface of that is a tremendous amount of pain and self-denial and a lack of honoring who you truly are in the moment. And it's like an epidemic, beyond bloody COVID. The epidemic of having the inability to really honor our boundaries is so pervasive in this life, and it's a massive passion of mine. That's why I designed the whole program, and it is a program I'm extremely proud of and has had a tremendous impact on people's lives. So make sure you look that up if boundaries is an issue for you. So that's number 3. It's time to the big reveal. In at number 2. So in spot number 2, I chose episode number 21, which was The Anatomy of the Soul's Dark Night, How to Recognize and Navigate the Dark Night of the Soul. I had a ton of feedback for this episode, and it's one that I really enjoyed putting together. Feedback like this one from Delia, who sent me an email, who said, "This is amazing. It would have helped me so much to have had this knowledge 6 or even 3 years ago, but I'm grateful to come across this now. Thank you so much." And thank you, Delia, for sending that email through. And I love that. In one sense, you're saying, well, she could have done with it earlier. On the other hand, I know that when you're in this state, it's an episode that can really help you understand what is a very, very difficult time, and actually break down the 6 stages of the Dark Night of the Soul. And I offer my best advice on navigating each of them. And so let's take a listen to a clip. This is a clip that's about stage number 2, which is what I call the fall. The fall is a crazy time. It can feel like the rug has been pulled out from under you. It's a time where what's been known kind of just falls to pieces, and there's nothing to cling on to. In the tarot deck, tarot generally has a symbology about it. There's the card of the Tower. And the tower, the symbology of the tower is a tower. There's sort of a lightning bolt or a fire going through the tower, and the Fool, which is the Fool is the archetype of the journey. The person who's going on the journey, the soul's journey, is jumping from the building and experiencing that fall. And it's the Tower card is really about how what you have built around you and who you think you are is coming down. And the lesson really is to not fight it, right? Don't cling on to it. And in a sense, if it's a dark night, you'll find there is nothing to cling on to. In fact, any attempts to sort of maintain what's been can cause a great deal of pain and suffering. That's why the Tower card's lesson is don't fight it, go with the flow. It's happening anyway. Although, of course, it seems there's this natural human urge in us to try and cling to what we've known. But the fall is that time when it's just all coming down, and it can say it could be a crazy time. So again, my advice here is, as much as you can, just embrace the fall. If you're falling, you might as well be flying. Just go, hey, here we go. I mean, that's easier said than done in the fall, but as much as you can, embrace it. Now, I want to say that MPA can really help you kind of smooth the road here, because it is a modality that really helps you to let go of things, to let go of that clinging, that attachment, because taking things personally is one of the ways that we really attach ourselves to certain forms. And if they're coming down and you're still identified and attached with them, that's going to make that ride, that fall, it's going to add a lot more suffering in. So I really do recommend that the MPA is a great way to support yourself through that. So again, if you want to listen to that episode, it's episode 21, which means you just need to type in www.beabrillianthuman.com/21, or just goes to today's episodes, which will be /66, and you can find all the episodes linked there that I'm revealing in my top 3 today. And of course, there I'm mentioning MPA again. I talked about that at the top of this episode, but of course, you could always go and download the MPA sheet. If you are in a situation where you're experiencing the dark night of the soul, it will be of great assistance to you. Again, just go to joelyoungmpa.com. You'll be able to find it there, and also will again link it on today's show notes. And also, if you are in the dark night of the soul, one of the stages there is about getting support. If you like support from me, I do have a few slots for 2021 with one-to-one sessions with me. You can go to joelyoungmpa.com/sessions and have a look at that. Get in touch if you want to have a chat after the break. I'm not back into work mode until the 4th of January. But otherwise, just send me an email. I'll get back to you if you'd like some support, because it really is valuable to have support if you're going through something as deep as that. Which brings us to the top spot, the hot spot. It's the number 1 pop pickers. Time for the big reveal. In at number 1. So in at number 1, I have chosen episode number 27, which is the unconditional pivot exercise, how to feel good in crappy situations. Now, I did this one right at the beginning of the first lockdown, where we first began to feel the pinch with COVID-19. And I really wanted to offer something of tremendous value. And that's part of why I really love this, because this is an episode which really gives a lot. And I mean a lot. You can think of this as a free mini class or a training. And in fact, there's even a free worksheet that I went to the time energy to create, so that you can have that to go along with in the episode, and have sort of this unconditional pivot exercise that I'm using to work with in your own life. And there actually have been a lot of listens to this episode, and I've had a lot of great feedback for it. And it's an exercise that I use a hell of a lot. It's one of those exercises that kind of cuts out the middleman in a way, because we generally put the cart before the horse when it comes to, trying to feel good. We wait for something else out there, a situation to change, before we feel good. And, this exercise is based on the pivot exercise, which is created by Abraham. On the episode, I could talk about them. But I really give it the Be a Brilliant Human workover, using a baby steps principle, so that you can really, step by baby step, get to a place where you can actually genuinely connect to the feeling, which is the space from which things can change. And the clip I want to share with you really goes into those underlying principles, the principles of starting with your beingness and how vibration really focuses on reality. Let's listen to the clip, and then I'll let you know how you can listen to this episode. So firstly, this is a feeling-focused exercise. So again, in the language of Abraham Hicks, this is about finding a better feeling place. which is really about moving from feeling crap to feeling good, ultimately in some form. So the thing is, your personal efforts to control or influence the circumstances, sometimes, they just have no impact at all. Some things are literally outside of your influence. But what you can influence is your feelings. Your feelings are much more fluid and directable by you. And to reiterate the point, the result you really want when you try to influence circumstances is a feeling, but we make circumstances the middleman. So this exercise, it's going to show you that that's not only unnecessary, but it's actually kind of an arse about face approach to it all. So let's go a bit deeper with that, because feeling states are related to beingness. So thoughts, feelings, or thoughts, beliefs, and actions are born from states of being or states of feeling. So think about it. If you're being afraid, then you're going to think fearful thoughts, you'll believe fearful things, your actions, your behaviors will come from a fearful place. You'll feel fearful, and that sucks, right? Now, if you're being peaceful, then you're going to think peaceful thoughts. You'll believe peaceful things. Your actions, your behaviors, they'll come from a peaceful place. You'll feel peaceful. Now, I've got a question for you. So, do you think you're going to be more empowered, practical, proactive, clear thinking, and able to protect and care for you and your loved ones if you're feeling peaceful or if you're feeling fearful? Just ponder it. If you really think about it, aren't your actions expressions of your states of being? In other words, how you act is led by how you feel. I know for me, the answer is, I'm much more present, available, and effective when I'm peaceful. When I'm fearful, my heart and brain just kind of shut down, and, that sucks, and it helps nobody, not me, not anybody around me. And finally, on the principles front, let's talk about energy and vibration. Shifting your feeling state is about shifting your energy and vibration. Energy and vibration is what creates the world, my friend. And that's not woo-woo. I'm imagining that you, as my listener, have come across that before, but it's not woo-woo. It's actually the default setting for physics now. And so much of the technology that we take for granted today, the stuff that's making us able to talk to each other across the vast spaces, is based on those very principles of energy. Literally, the shape of the world around you is determined by energies held at various frequencies. And when it comes to our human experience, that holds true. How you run your energy, how your energy is in motion, emotion, has a huge impact on how the world forms around you. And as you work through this exercise, you'll literally be changing the frequencies you're vibrating with. And that in turn invites, different manifestations, different experiences, different actions. It's the magic of the universe, beloved listener. So, there's a lot to be gained from this exercise. So let's go step by step through it. Now, if you haven't yet downloaded the worksheet, I really recommend you do that. So you can listen to that episode in full. It's episode number 27. So you just need to go to www.beabrillianthuman.com/27 or to today's episode. As I was just saying, as the clip came to a close there, to download the sheet, you can do that either via the show notes for that episode /27. I will also put a link to the sheet for you on today's show notes /66 after the www.beabrillianthuman.com. And it really is a fabulous episode. There's lots of value there. So, and hence it is my number one of 2020. Now, I did want to share a hidden gem with you. So let's reveal what's the hidden gem. So this one, the hidden gem, or honorable mention, they're sometimes called in these countdown lists, is actually a fairly recent one. I did it back at the beginning of November. It's episode number 61, which is the surprising secret ingredient that facilitates healing. Now, this is an episode which is, I think, really is super, super powerful. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to play you the intro to it, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. So let's hear the intro. In this episode, I want to lay out for you and give you an insight to what I've come to understand is the biggest gift that you can bring to any healing or facilitation situation. Now, this is going to be particularly pertinent if you're any kind of coach or therapist or practitioner of some kind. But also, if that's not you, stay with me, because if you nail this one, it's going to be actually the biggest gift you can bring to your life. So the reason that I really wanted to include this one here is when I say it's the biggest gift you can bring to your life, if you really get this, I'm not saying that lightly. I really feel that this episode, if you really take it on, is one of those episodes that really speaks to the heart of what I believe is such a profound shift in the way you operate in relation to life. It's really talking about becoming genderless. And now that is absolutely at the heart of MPA and non-personal awareness. It's why I say it's so powerful for coaches and healers and change makers, because dropping the agenda is like the biggest factor that will make a huge difference to how you can up level how you work with other people. But also, as I said there in the intro, even if you're not a coach or a therapist, it's something that will transform your life. So I want to encourage you to go and listen to episode 61. Again, you can find it at www.beabrillianthuman.com/61 or via today's show notes, episode 66. So again, it's the same URL with a /66 will take you. And on that page for today, /66, you will find all the notes on the questions that I've shared and all the top 3 episodes linked so you can get straight to them, and the hidden gem, episode 61. I hope you've enjoyed the countdown. I hope that you've enjoyed whatever amount of, if you've been here with me the whole year, oh my God, I love you. That's fantastic. But however much of the year you spent subscribed and listening to these podcasts, I'm so grateful. And I am looking forward to 2021. I hope you had an amazing Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, or just a holiday if Christmas isn't your jam, and that the new year brings you wonderful things, and that you have a really lovely time in that transition through the years. Do some reflection, get a sense of what you've achieved, what wonderful things have happened, what things you can do better next year. And I will see you in 2021 in the new year. Thanks so much for being here. All that remains is to cue the moo.